Welcome back to Spitballin Cards. In today's video, we have a few kind of negative topics, actually, but we'll spin it to be positive, hopefully. The first one being that big fraud with all of those fake autographs that just happened. We'll dive more into it. I'm not going to describe it too much now, but huge autograph fraud. The other one is we did see a post recently on Instagram claiming that a lot of people, a lot of collectors in particular, are leaving the hobby. Are we at the risk of losing collectors and adding unfavorable people to the hobby? And then we also want to highlight one of our Patreon members who had a really great pickup. Probably do this more often where we highlight some pickups we see from our Patreon members. If you would like to have another episode of us 5 every single week, check out our Patreon. It's $10 a month. You get an extra video every week, plus all of the older videos from the past that are evergreen. So with that being said, we have the whole team. Everybody, good to see you. Who feels the most comfortable sharing the autograph situation? Who knows the most about it? Ty, Phil, Chris, Jeff? Which one of you?
I can share. So
probably should have decided this before the episode if we were professional, but here we are.
Yeah. So basically there was a guy named Brett Lemieux with what was it? Man Cave cards or Man Cave cards, Mr. Man Cave. And essentially what happened was he put a confessional post on social media talking about how over the last decade plus he's ripped off people with fake autographs in the kind of memorabilia space to the tune of $400 to $500 million was his confession and claim. And it sort of started making the rounds. And then very quickly, within a day, we got reports that an unnamed individual in a raid had taken his own life. And then it came out about a day later that it was, in fact, this Brett Lemieux. He leaves behind a family. And what's not clear is whether or not the number that he cited was legitimate or him sort of clout chasing as part of a going out party for himself or what. Patrick Ryan posted a video on Instagram talking about how he doubts that number could be legitimate, that he thought it might be closer to 50 to 100 million, that he doesn't know, but he thought he was pretty insistent that 400 to 500 million seemed impossible, if not highly unlikely. And he does. I will say this about Patrick: he's got way more experience in that particular industry, for collectibles and autographs, than any of us do, or than a lot of people. I don't have enough information to know just how plausible that is or isn't. But the fact of the matter is, this still goes down as one of the biggest, if not the biggest, scandals in the faked fraudulent autograph space that we've seen. I mean, maybe ever. So it's a big deal. It's mostly impacted, from what we know, memorabilia, but it kind of raises eyebrows. It makes a lot of us wonder, who already have questions, even about authenticated autos pulled from packs, especially secondary market and through the mail autos. What, how does this impact the card industry overall?
I will say this is mostly not pack pulled stuff, not to change. We saw the Messi had the whole situation with his brother potentially signing the cards. That could still exist with people signing for players. But what this guy in particular did was a lot of, aftermarket cards or photos or jerseys or baseballs or anything along those lines, particularly on Tom Brady, Aaron Judge, a couple other really big names where Kobe. He was saying Kobe. What he would do is he would have a real signing with them, have him sign a couple things, and then do thousands of fraudulent ones. And so you could say he did have it, has the photos, has the proof, but then a lot of it's fake. Your pack pulled autographs, I would assume, are completely fine because that's forging a card, which has to get past PSA. Plus, it's more difficult. The hard thing about the situation, though, is he did forge all of the stickers, stickers from Fanatics, all of them from JSA. Basically, everybody that you care about, everybody you trust, was ripped off. I did see a post, I don't remember where, if I can find it by the time this goes live, probably on Sunday, that I will put it into the description to identify what's fake and what's real and how you can tell from the combination of the stickers and all these weird things. But as of right now, if I were a holder of these things, which luckily I'm not, I would not feel very good about it at all. And as someone who doesn't own any, I am even pushed further away of never trusting or wanting to buy any of this stuff ever again at all, which really hurts people like Mickey Mantle and other older players as well.
Mm-hmm.
So,
there's an article on Collect, by the way, if you want more information, good source for news on topics like this. So you can go check that out.
Yeah, just to highlight what you said, Scott, people have been forging autographs for years, and that happens a lot. But the ability that this guy or whoever he worked with that they had to replicate the hologram stickers and the authentication stickers for, I think, like JSA, Upper Deck, several of the most esteemed authentication services in the hobby. That's the really worrisome part, that he was able to replicate that. And you know that if somebody's looking at an autograph, typically they try to take the word of JSA, of an Upper Deck, that something is authentic. So the fact that he was able to do that and make them effectively look the same as the legitimate autographs and legitimate pieces of memorabilia, that's really what's the scariest.
That's all we have to go off of this stuff, is the letter of authenticity from those companies and those stickers, and it's very concerning, right? So
yeah,
I don't know. Phil,
I saw a video from Chris Sewell on this topic too, and he said something interesting that feels pretty I don't know, like sensational, but it really got me thinking. And he wasn't like saying he thought it should be this way, but he basically was like, maybe it's time for us to just collectively stop treating autographs across the board like they're all real. Like to just, so when you see something authenticated by PSA or by JSA or by another third party, they're saying it's like their vote that it's authentic, but there can't be any like actual guarantee associated with it if they weren't there, if it wasn't like in person, if you don't have a video and that kind of thing. And especially in today's day and age, when you do have cameras and ways to upload, videos pretty easily to the cloud, there could be ways of you doing that and certifying that something's real. But he's just sort of saying like, without saying it discredits them, should there be more information to the average person that just says, this is not a guarantee. Don't treat it like a guarantee. Treat it like a professional opinion and leave it at that. And that would impact the premium that people pay for these for sure. Because if you can't be 100% certain you're rolling the dice, it's going to ratchet it up from just buying an uncertified auto, but not to the, to the next level where people just treat it like, well, if PSA says it's real or JSA says it's real, it's definitely real. They're just doing their best. They don't have a way to ultimately know. And that's kind of a thought-provoking thing from my perspective.
Yeah, it's kind of like grading companies. They assign a grade. It's an opinion, but we as people, humans with eyes, we can override grades based on the eye appeal of the card or other stuff that we spot. Oh, this card was undergraded a little. I don't agree. This card was overgraded a little bit. But since 99% of us aren't autograph experts, we're going to take the, yes, it's authentic from this grading company of choice or authentication company, and we're going to treat it as such and value it as such. It definitely is scary. And a lot of people, I'm seeing a lot of folks on social media being like, you can't trust an autograph unless you witness it in person. A COA doesn't mean anything. You look at a guy like Steve Grad, who I actually had to like look him up to see his full history. I'm sure most of you guys are pretty well aware of who he is. So he's an authentication expert, autograph authentication expert. And he is really, really rich from his work and his experience. And now he's on Pawn Stars and he works for Beckett a little bit too. And if you look up his history on ChatGPT to try to get a neutral story about who he is and if he's a credible source or not, there are some serious examples of him botching authentication and him having liability in the past, and not just one, multiple times. Really unscrupulous stuff. So it does. I mean, it really for us, as we kind of described at the outset, the exposure is minimal for those of us that are in the card market and don't do a whole lot of like TTM autos or buy stuff that's autographed. On stickers, I've got one I'm going to show a little bit that's not, I'd say, free from all of this. It's in question now, and I paid a lot of money for it. It's a sticker auto card, but most of the certified pack pulled autos where it's on card, most of those are going to be safe unless they were like wiped and redrawn, which is possible as well. But that's why I'm saying most and not all. So I've got a card here I'm going to show real quick. All right. So this Barry Bonds card.
Fake.
Yeah, well, it could be. Well, the card itself is real, but the one of one might not be. So the issue here is it's not serial numbered. It's hand stamped 1 out of 1. Another issue is that there's no checklist that has this card on it that recognizes it. There's a silver version that's either numbered to 200 or numbered out of 250. They're also hand stamped, and they have the card is exactly the same front and back. The only difference is this sticker is either gold or it's silver. So see the front of the card. Whoop, wrong card. Yeah, here's the back here. It says nothing different than what a silver version would have. It doesn't say anything about this being a 1-of-1 or a gold copy. What kind of gives me more reason to believe that this is real is that there was a sale of this card in like 2006, and it has 1-of-1 in the title. There's also cards of comparable players that also aren't on the checklist that have 1-of-1. Steven Drew, all the superstars from the past. But yeah, this Balco Berry could be fake, and that would suck. And ChatGPT was telling me to treat this like an authentic card with an inauthentic autograph. Treat it just like the silver. There's no records of this card, and the serial numbering is really what took it over the edge. If it had the serial number 1-of-1 and not the hand stamp 1-of-1, then I think I'd be safe. But it's in question now. It sucks.
I didn't expect you to bash your own cards in this episode.
He was trying to go to your Otani next, but we won't let him do that.
But I will say, overall, I think this helps pack pulled certified autographs more than anything else could have. Yes, those could still be signed by a cousin, but I mean, they're certified by the player from the player. So it's one of those things, though, where there are weird circumstances you need to pay attention to. When you're buying high end in particular, you need to pay attention to. So think of the Mickey Mantle and the Ken Griffey Jr. dual autograph out of what set was that? That iconic card?
Yeah, it's on the deck, but I'm not sure what year.
But either way, you want to pull it up for me while I'm talking? Yeah. Those came with either Griffey signing them, Mantle signing them individually, or combined. And if they were combined, they're worth more because they both signed it. But they did not keep track of on the back. There's a sticker of authenticity. They didn't keep track of the numbering of it on what was and wasn't signed by each of them. So a lot of them are signed by both, but they weren't signed by both at the right time. Mm-hmm. And so it's one of those cards, there's weird things on this card. Another example of a card, if you want to pull it up, Ty, is going to be I think there's 3,000 or 1,000 of each. I think it's 1,000 of each. 1,000 by Mickey, 1,000 by Griffey, and 1,000 signed by both. But the other card that you can look at is going to be the Albert Pujols 2001 Bowman Chrome autograph. That's another one that has a history to it. Yeah. There was a guy who would buy these back when it was a big card worth a couple hundred, a couple thousands of dollars. Now they're worth a lot more than that. But a lot of the autographs are forged, where if it just either faded off because Pujols, for whatever reason, his finest cards, the same situation, they faded easy. He would wipe them off and he'd re-sign them with an autograph that is more likely to have not been his autograph at this time. It was more later in 2001 or 2002 that autograph was around. So he's got to make sure when you're buying, maybe you can find one of those. Ty, if you go to sales history, we can show one of the autographs that's more to subject. The one Ty showed, 100% authentic, which is great to see. But there are some like that one. Click on that one. That PSA 10,
that first one.
That PSA 10 was definitely not signed at the time this card came out, as an example.
Why do you say that, Scott?
There's a whole Reddit forum on it. It's the wrong style, wrong pen, wrong size.
Yeah, there's some research you can.
If you actually want to scroll down, you can find one that is more of what I'm talking about. No, that one's authentic.
That's what I'm saying, though. Look at the comparison.
Yeah, it's not even thinner, not even close.
And I mean, by the way, this is the most expensive sale.
But that card sold again later for $60,000. Wow. So people wised up to it. Right there, click that one.
Yeah.
So that one's more subject, right? It's very slow, very deliberate. I think it's probably fine, but I would trust PSA's opinion more than Beckett's at this point because of the guarantee they have. But either way, not all cards are perfect. I would say a majority of them are safe. They're real autographs. They'll give you that peace of mind. But you got to know what card you're buying because not all of them are that way.
So faded. Yeah. I have a different. Honestly, I think this gives me a little more, a little less confidence and a little more trepidation around pack pulled autographs. It opens my eyes to the fact that it just puts everything on the table as being potentially fake. I don't know. I know there's enough pack pulled autos that have been auto penned, and it just freaks me out in general.
Which is fair.
I think there definitely is there will be I hate to use the phrase trickle down, but ripple might be there'll be ripple effects from this. This is a chunk of the hobby. Autograph memorabilia is a substantial percentage of the sports hobby world. And we now have, evidence that a huge chunk of that is potentially very, very fraudulent and easily, like, we have proof that this guy faked a lot of stuff. And I think that will turn people off.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've seen a lot of people on social media be like, well, that's why I only collect like pack pulled cards. And there's a guy on Instagram named Signed and Slabbed who posted a couple examples of why. And you just mentioned that Lionel Messi, but this is my favorite pack pulled Topps Auto snafu, we'll call it, from the last few years. Like, this is very clearly signed by the same person, and absolutely that person is not either of those two players. So like this stuff is always out there. Like Ty said, it just sort of briefly shines a light on how unregulated like our hobby is, and the stuff that we like to collect really is, and how when there is no regulation or no one really overseeing it, someone has the ability, if they're smart and clever and evil enough, to get in there and cause a massive problem, defraud thousands of people. And even if we just collect cards, this will have an effect. This will scare some people away from the hobby in general. I think it's hard to, really think of it in any way outside of that. I'm going to take this down because I don't like looking at it.
What scandal's worse, this or cat scanning, with regards to like the biggest effect on the hobby as a whole, the entire ecosystem? I think it's a tough question.
It is a really tough question.
From baseball card perspective only, I'd say cat scanning, because I don't think it's that big of a deal in baseball cards for pack pulled certified autographs.
Oh yeah,
But like the overall hobby, if we're looking at that, then I think this is a bigger deal than cat scanning. Cat scanning can be combated right now and fixed, but like fake autographs for
maybe. But nobody's doing it.
But it hasn't been fixed yet.
Hasn't been fixed.
I was just going to bring up the point.
Yeah,
I think Phil said earlier, just we're looking at it as an opinion, or maybe Ty, is that what you're saying? Chris Sewell was saying that it's just an opinion of somebody, and that brought to mind to me the whole issue with BBCE and the Pokemon cards, because again, there were just somebody found his way, became an expert in something. And was very well respected amongst the hobbyists for his opinion. And then it turned out his opinion was very, very wrong on a very expensive item. And you saw it take a short-term hit. I don't know if people still trust BBCE now.
How did that not end BBCE? I don't. Like the next day it's done.
Because it's
we were all hoodwinked.
PSA, I mean, all the manufacturers have big scandals. It doesn't end the manufacturers. PSA could have a big scandal. It won't end PSA.
PWCC, which is now Fanatics Live, the biggest auction house, had one of the biggest scandals in sports card history.
You have to have.
I didn't get my cards back from them. Yeah.
You have to have an alternative to certain things, and so I just
they're Teflon. I don't know.
That was like the weirdest thing. Their job was to authenticate unopened wax. That was like the biggest sale of something they authenticated, and it was complete bullshit. And somehow people are still like, "Wow, this company's fine."
It was negligence, but not fraud.
So
there's been a lot of fraudsters that have survived.
Either way,
like think about this. In all of this stuff, I'll use like another sport example. This is the first one that comes to mind. But like, if you're thinking about how do I treat these authentications, Steph Curry has the highest free throw percentage of any basketball player. I'm saying this just to piss Chris off, by the way. 91.1% for his career. So he's making a little over 9 out of every 10 free throws. If I need somebody on planet Earth to make a free throw, life or death, I'm probably going to go to Steph Curry. There's probably some Guinness, elementary school teacher who shoots them better, but like, I'm going to Curry over myself. I'm probably going to hit like 40% of my free throws at this point. I was much better in my younger age, probably closer to 91%. But that's kind of the point. If you want to go into a swing off, just got to watch that at the All-Star game. The moral of the story is don't ask Jonathan Aranda to do your swing off for you. Ask somebody else who can hit home runs and not go 0-for-3. Ask Kyle Schwarber, right? Yeah. So it's just an odds thing. It's like there are professional layers, and everybody makes mistakes though. Like every single person makes mistakes. They're not going to bat 1,000 on their authentications and everything else because there's humans involved, and a lot of different humans. It's not even just one human. So that's how I would treat it. I think Chris is onto something. Chris Sewell's onto something by saying, just have a little less confidence, be a little bit scrupulous about the process. Anyway.
Okay. I think that topic is covered well. Good job. Let's give ourselves a pat in the back. You can edit this out, Phil. I'm just joking. All right, so the next topic, we should hit on this really quick, is Tyke, do you have the post you can share?
I do.
That might be easier than saying things incorrectly.
Yep.
But here's from Ephus Pitch, really good friend of ours, but it says, yesterday was the 6th consecutive day someone I followed decided to publicly give up cards. The pattern tends to be the same. It starts out with feeling discouraged, then disillusioned, and it ends with being displaced. As these people leave, they take with them their enthusiasm, knowledge, and values. This mounting collector deficit and its broader implications isn't something we talk about enough. I would argue that they are being replaced largely by people who don't share the same values and have drastically different priorities and goals. It sort of goes without saying, within a hobby environment, profit motive is a passion that is a very unstable foundation. It's a lot of words. What do we think?
Shout out to Pitch for a lot of these philosophical posts, but I did just want to, like, if he is watching, if he is watching, he needs to, if you could just add a little gentle music to this, because there isn't a person alive who collects cards that can read this post in the allotted 6 seconds that Instagram gives the story to run across. Just throwing that out there. I just kept going back.
Add the background music.
Wait, add some background music. Give this a little
Chris, you can just hold it and it'll keep on there.
I can. I don't have that kind of attention span though. So it just usually it goes and I have to come back.
A lot of big words. Sometimes he doesn't use them in the right ways. Right, Ty? But disillusioned. I was actually just Googling that. I think that's correct. Okay.
Yeah.
With that being said, what do you guys think? Do we think that this is a real issue? One, and do we think that those people leaving is detrimental to the hobby? I think those are the big takeaways. Them being replaced.
I have a lot of thoughts on this, but I want to hear everybody else's first.
All right, you go first, Jeff. I think Jeff should go first.
Okay, go, Jeff.
Well, I'm really interested to hear Ty's thoughts on it. I guess I don't have too many thoughts about it because I'm not seeing the same thing that Ephus is. So maybe we're just in slightly different circles. I see a lot of people upset about things in the hobby, maybe complaining, but that really hasn't changed. And I've seen people coming into the hobby. A lot of people have contacted Chris and I about coming into the hobby and trying to learn things. So I've seen a lot of collectors come into the hobby. It's unfortunate if that is the case that we're losing collectors from the hobby, but it seems like it's going to be just something that happens. People are going to come in and out, whether or not the hobby's in a good place, a bad place. Things are expensive, things are cheap. And there's a lot of people who are collectors that are just finding their way to change their collecting styles, if that's a good way to put it, because they're just, if they're being priced out of the things that they used to like to collect, they're pivoting to something else. And I've seen that happen a lot. So I'm not seeing this as too big of an issue. I think that the hobby is still in a pretty good place relatively.
Yeah, I see a lot of people that are the first part. I see a lot of discouraged. But yeah, it's usually from people who have just bought their first hobby box, or they bought multiple hobby boxes. But then in the next couple of days, they're like, well, try it again. Saw these boxes at Target. Let's see how we do. And eventually, I think percentage wise, we just need most of those people to realize that they should stop doing that and attack it a different way. I've not seen too many people just abandoning ship. I mean, if anything, the hobby seems to be growing. I think we talked about in our last video, some people outside of the hobby buying Chrome Update because they heard about the MLB debut patches. So I think the reach is definitely getting out there. I mean, I have some friends from high school who were like, what is this Paul Skeens card that sold for $1 million? Why is that happening? So I don't know. Discouragement, yes, but I haven't seen much past that phase.
I don't know if anybody entering the hobby is of lesser value to the hobby as those leaving the hobby. That's a tough one. Everybody has to learn. Everybody has to figure out what's going on. It is a learning curve, right? I mean, I came back in the early to mid 2010s. Ty came back in the late 2010s, early 2020s. There's a learning curve where we all have to learn the same things. We watch content creators and you get to learn these things, or we read forums. We look at those back pages. He's been there forever. So I don't think that's a fair assumption. But at the same time, we kind of talk about baseball cards as way bigger than it is. It is just a hobby. It's okay to change your interests. You know what I mean? Of course it's sad when it comes because of fraud. Of course it's sad because it's got scammed. We don't want that. But I don't think it's the end of the world if someone's like, you know what, I'm putting too much time into this and I don't like it as much as I used to. That's a normal cycle for a lot of stuff, in my opinion. So,
yeah. For my standpoint, I see the number of people that are leaving the breaking or the opening of wax outnumbering the people actually leaving the hobby for good, like 10-1, probably, based on stories that I hear, comments, posts, etc. It's actually pretty hard to leave the hobby. Like, imagine all of us, Ty, like imagine you leaving the hobby, what that would take.
I think about it every day. I'm just kidding.
For me, it's like, okay, I delete my business website and I guess like remove all of these paying customers, and then I have to delete my socials and then delete you guys as friends from like Facebook and stuff and your phone numbers and stop doing this podcast thing. I know like we're more embedded in the hobby than most people, most of the people watching this, but the hobby has a way of getting its hooks in you. And I'd say from getting to disillusioned stage 2 to the final stage, which would be displaced, it's hard to get from partially or temporarily disillusioned to fully displaced from the hobby. A lot of people don't make that leap. And then you have to sell your cards, which, by the way, is the hardest part, because those are the things you're emotionally attached to. So I'm not saying
not even just emotionally attached, but the process of selling your entire collection is so exhausting if you want to do it correctly.
It's not a super liquid thing. If it is liquid, it's like a few cards, but not all of them. You know, the ones that are going to take all the time are going to be most of the cards that you probably have. So I'm not saying that like we're all stuck here against our will. I like being a part of this. I just think there's at the end of the day, there's more good than bad. And you can still, a lot of people have still found a way to enjoy the hobby, the singles aspect, or whatever other parts of the hobby, even if they weren't opening wax anymore, which is, again, what I see as being the biggest thing that people like, where people are pivoting.
Have you guys ever thought about leaving the hobby in some capacity? I have. Fully transparent. I've totally thought about it. Like, man, I would love to have this time. I would love to not be so focused on YouTube and then not have my cards. I could do a lot of money with those cards and put it in stocks. Like, we've all, I think about a lot of stuff, but I'm never going to because I love it. But
it's Hotel California, man. Okay. Like, you can't, you can check out, but you can't leave. There's that kind of segues into some of my thoughts about this. And the first thing I would say is there are a lot of reasons people leave the hobby. So it's not really sufficient to say, it's the 6th day in a row I've seen somebody leaving the hobby. Okay, why? Were they addicted to breaking? Were they addicted to cards? Did they just go through a big loss? Did they shift interest into something other than sports cards, which is completely fine, by the way, or any of the other million reasons? Did they just lose their job and they've got to take a break because they just lost all their discretionary income and they've got bigger priorities? Maybe they're going through chemotherapy. Literally unlimited reasons. Very real, reasonable reasons why somebody leaves the hobby. Now, he did highlight like discouragement and other things. You guys just highlighted some of the reasons, some of the top reasons I think people get discouraged. But I would also point to people realizing that getting sucked into the just buy singles crowd can still burn you. And maybe people bought, overspent on a Cal Raleigh card or a Jacob Mizorowski and realized by using market movers that it decreased in value in a week, from where they bought it. That can burn you too. And if that burns you so much that you just get fed up and leave, you're also entitled to do that. It's not, some people also just take a break. Like, I took a break from Instagram last year for 6 months and I'm still not particularly active on it now. It was a decision I made. And Instagram itself, which is what this whole like story post is based on, is like a microcosm of the hobby. It's kind of like it. I don't even know if it's like indicative of the hobby in many ways. And also it's like its own unique echo chamber where the people you end up following and the people who follow you just become your little echo chamber of like thoughts and ideas and philosophies about what the hobby is supposed to be. And it doesn't expose you to the bigger picture. And that's kind of related to when we originally had the conversation about Top Series 1 not having the black paper parallels in them. And, I was saying like a lot of people don't know what these cards are or care about them, but our group of people who are more curated, more focused on specific types of things are very passionate about them. That's like the hobby overall. So I actually put together a very like basic diagram, but I want to use this to kind of illustrate something. If you take, I love thinking about things on a matrix. So if you take collecting and financial as your motivations as a spectrum, and then doing like high volume versus low volume, this is the hobby. Like it or not, this is the hobby. It's not one part of this. This is the whole hobby ecosystem. Flippers are part of the hobby ecosystem. Breakers are part of the ecosystem. There's so many different pieces within here. And most people are somewhere like hovering in this area. Like they're not just exclusively doing one of these things, most people. But if I go back to like EFIS, this is kind of like where people who dare to use the term true collector or pure collector like talk about people living, is in this like highly curated, somewhat myopic view of what is worthy of having in your possession. And if you really think that way, then this even further like narrows the scope of cards that anybody should dare to have in their possession or enjoy owning, and creates more competition for them and even more angst about the price points of those cards and how inaccessible they become to anybody who's not making at least $250,000 a year. Yeah. So like, this is the whole ecosystem. I am meeting so many new people every single day at Cards HQ, not to mention at card shows and other places. People who DM me on Instagram, people who are commenting on Market Movers YouTube videos or our Spitballin videos, who are talking about how they're brand new and they are like over here or even up here. They're just loving collecting cards, the favorite things that they love, their favorite teams, their favorite stuff. Tons of kids at our trade nights at Cards HQ who are over here. These are the ones that get highlighted. You know, I need room and I want, you know, whatever, like they're down here. They're part of the hobby ecosystem, but there are tons and tons of kids in this space and other people, grown men coming back into the hobby who are loving collecting. So I don't buy it. I just don't buy that there's like this exodus happening because and that people are being replaced by people who are now like living down in this space somewhere as like financially motivated only. That does not mirror my own anecdotal experience with the people that I'm interacting with regularly at all.
Can I also just say though, you move throughout this chart.
Lots of people do.
I have.
I do from one day to the next sometimes.
Depending on what you're doing. Like my Billy Butler collection, I have my goal is everything. I'll never sell anything no matter what. If I go to my other side, like my Otani cards, they're absolutely in the literal furthest place away as possible.
Yeah, you're like hovering in here.
And so it's difficult because EFIS is very good at what he does. I hope Bill doesn't feel like we're attacking him.
No, I mean, he put it out to the world. I think it's a really like worthy discussion, and he's not unique in having that thought process.
And his experience may be different than ours because, again, of who he's friends with on social media, and those people probably are valuable to his community. And so it is a challenge, but also I'm glad you did this, Ty. I know this was your topic you brought, so you had time to do this, but it's very impressive.
I just put this together right before we jumped on here. That's why I was 3 minutes late. But I think, you know, it's just important. Like, it's so important to like have perspective and think beyond like our own immediate scope of how we think things ought to be. Is like challenge yourself to put yourself in a different position. Just go from here to here or to like here and try to think, what would a person who's living in this space think about the hobby and what's their experience right now? And it doesn't mean there's like one way. That if the whole hobby was like this, the hobby would literally cease to exist. It's an impossibility.
Nobody would ever sell it.
Nobody would have any. There wouldn't be enough cards to go after. It's like Topps Black Paper Parallels would have to be numbered to 7,000 to satiate the demand for those cards. You know, it's just an impossibility.
Like the Elite Edition back in the day in the 90s. But I will also note the high volume flippers. Oh, can you shut it one more time?
Oh, sure. Sorry.
You already mentioned this, so I don't want to beat a dead horse here. But the high volume flippers, they're integral to the hobby because there's so many cards that never would have seen the light of day if it wasn't for the Blaze repacks and then they get sold on eBay. Yeah. Like there are benefits to us. There's cards that I never would have found if it wasn't for those individuals.
I understand why like this corner of this is like antithetical and repulsive to this corner of this. I get it. But like, you know, that's life. Like there's just lots of things all of us disagree on. And at some point you've got to go, this is freaking cardboard, not, you know, things that really matter. So just don't take it too seriously.
So Chris Sewell, baseball card collector, investor, dealers could be getting a lot of love on this channel, a lot of references.
Yeah, I think we've talked about like 15 times this one episode.
Yeah. So or this one day, but he actually made a video about what he's calling like the hobby roles and how those have changed since the 90s. In the 90s, there were really just dealers at shows and also some store owners, but really just dealers. And then you have collectors and really not much else in between. Maybe some people that put themselves in the investing category right before the bubble and the crash, but now you've got investors, you have flippers, people creating liquidity, which you didn't really have back then. And there's a need for that. And actually, the internet's helped create liquidity as well. And then you have a lot of people doing stuff as like a side business within the hobby. A lot more card businesses and side hustles and things like that. So I think where I go back to the original argument from Bill, I think if there is, looking at Ty's matrix, if there is an exodus of folks, even if it's just a portion of folks in his quadrant that are more on the curating, collecting, less financial side of things, then that's going to be less impactful than it was in the 90s, if you know what I mean, because there are so many other segments and there are so many other ways, going back to what I was saying with my perspective of the hobby having hooks in you, a lot of different hooks in all of us. And it's not just a collecting hook. It's not just a grading hook. It's not just a breaking hook. It's a lot of different hooks. And in order for us to leave the hobby, I mean, Ty said like Hotel California, like you think you can, but you can't. We would each need to design a roadmap. This is what I do as part of my real job. And I think Ty used to do something similar to this as a consultant, develop these like long roadmaps with contingent or assumptions, little work streams, time estimates, cost estimates, and plot them on like a Gantt chart and try to figure it out. Like, how would this even be possible? How would I even execute on this? So,
yeah. Yeah, it's near impossible. I was on a 10-day trip with romantic trip with my wife to Italy and Spain, and I bought 2 cards while I was there. I literally bid on a card on eBay outside of La Sagrada Familia in Barcelona, and negotiated buying a Pujols card at breakfast in Florence.
Well, plus I even called you, and we almost got another one that you got later. So we were trying to work a deal out for someone else. So
I just think about that eagle distracting you from the Juan Soto card.
Oh, I know. I think about that all the time. I mean, that was honestly, had I not bought those cards in Europe, it would have been okay. Actually, maybe not. One of those I really, really like. So I definitely need that one. But the Alaskan eagle situation was also a little bit tough.
Yeah.
People don't know that situation. Is that the Mookie Betts gold minted? Is that the one that you missed?
It was a Soto gold minted. Yeah, was the Alaskan one.
Chris has kept me from a card 2 or 3 times now. The Mookie Betts 2019 gold minted. He said, "Okay, I really want this card, so I'm going to buy it." I'm like, "Okay, I won't give you competition." Sold for $8. He forgot to bid. Then it comes up again. I'm like, "Hey, Chris, it's up again." "Oh, great, thank you." Sold. He didnid buy it again. So that's twice.
The first one was not the second one I completely forgot. I was watching a movie, but the first one was an internet snap. I bid $77 with 6 seconds left, and I don't know, it just never went in, and it sold for $11. To this day I don't understand what happened. I think Scott bought it and somehow blocked me from bidding, and he's
never shared it publicly. I don't dare.
Right. Smart.
Yeah.
So. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, I thought I really like when Ephus posts thought-provoking things. I think he has a lot of opinions and thoughts on things, and he's got some really good insights into stuff. Frankly, a lot of times, and sometimes I agree, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just think there's more nuance required for things, and this is one of those times.
Yeah, and if you want to discuss that, Bill should be one of our guests at the National Spitballin meetup that we're having on Friday. Yep. In Chicago. If we have that graphic again, if someone wants to throw it up, we'll be at the Lowe's Hotel.
It's going to be at the Lowe's Hotel. That's right. That's about a 5-minute walk from the convention center. And 4 of us will be there. Unfortunately, Jeff can't make it this year, but me, Scott, Ty, and Chris will all be there. Informal. Shoot the crap with us. Talk baseball. Bring some cards if you'd like. And it's going to be right outside the very bustling. Is that a word?
Bustling.
Trade night scene that'll be in the overflowing into all of the other common areas of the hotel on the first floor. So you walk into the hotel, you take a right, and a bunch of other YouTubers will be there as well. Neo Carson Comics, Personal Finance Dad, Sports Card Dad, whatever his name is.
Maybe we need to get Chris Sewell there for talking about him so much.
Hey, Chris, you're invited.
Yeah.
If you're still watching. Why do I look so sad in this photo?
It'll be a test to see how many episodes.
Everybody's sad. You're sort of for judging the 3 of us.
They're so happy.
Hey, if I'm behind a bar serving drinks to people, I'm very happy.
Yeah, I guess I'm probably the only one not drinking.
That's my secret. If I had a hobby off ramp, it's to running my own speakeasy. So who knows?
That would be fun.
Maybe someday.
Maybe I can I'll bring my computer, put it on the bar, and we can Zoom. Jeff can Zoom. So he can sort of be there virtually. you know?
Yeah.
What about this? We should make a sports card shop, but also a bar. Think how much money it'd make. You know, do breaks, sell some beers. There's cards and coffee. Why not?
Yeah.
Breaks and brews.
There's
Breaks and
really
brews.
Cards HQ
Brewers.
for that, Ty. Ty,
The
did Jeff
Brewers.
look into getting a liquor license for Cards HQ? Because you got room in the back there where there's like a little breaker space.
Hey, a boy can dream.
Right? Yeah. Seriously.
Hey,
They got
thanks for-
Pokemon to bring people in. They don't need alcohol.
True.
We're gonna. Yeah.
One more thing we want to do. We want to share a highlight from our Patreon. We have a community tab where everybody shares their pickups. As of right now, we have over 100 people that are in there. It's a lot of fun to get to know everybody and to kind of interact in the comments that are more private. And thank you for supporting us. It helps us continue to do this. We talked about our hooks being in the hobby. It makes it so we're able to justify it to our significant others. So thank you. But we want to highlight one of the pickups someone had. And this is one we did not show at the last time we did this on the Patreon. But who has it? Do you have it, Chris?
Yeah, I have it. The pickup chat is really fun. We're getting like 2 or 3 posts a day of stuff that our members are grabbing. And some of these cards are awesome. We like to see what you guys are buying. So we can try to snake the next one out from underneath each other. But this is a Jackson Churio Red Ink Heritage Auto, and this comes from Dub D Cards. And this card is very sexy, I have to
Love
say.
it.
Yeah. I think that the centering got him. That's probably why at 9, just based on looking at it. The auto looks, I don't know. I don't really get auto grades. Sometimes they're 9s, sometimes they're 10s.
That's a really weak auto 9. That's really not bad at all.
Yeah.
Maybe
The
like
red-
right on the top loop.
It's like
but
over the glove and then like a little bit of.
that's not bad at all.
Nah, it ain't bad.
The red looks pretty good. Yeah, these Heritage Red Inks. Churio has, we'll call it an abundance of rookie autos. Jeff, do you think that's a good phrase?
That's a gentle way of saying it. Yeah.
Well, so as a Brewer fan and a Churio collector, where would you? This is near the top for you and his rookie
Right at
auto.
the top. Yeah, right near the top. I've had my eye on these too. And I think a 9 is about the best you can expect on these from what I've seen with the centering. And as we know, the Heritage, the card stock is pretty fragile. They've been touched by many hands as they have the on-card autos. So I wouldn't mind the 9 at all. This is a beautiful card.
Are you buying at 70%, Jeff?
Yes. So feel free, Dub, to contact me. Best I can do is 71%.
I need room.
I'll
You
do
need room.
72%. Hit me up.
Oh, here we go.
You need room.
Yeah.
I mean, I like this card. I like the image on it. It looks kind of badass with the reflective sunglasses and I like the hat. The whole card looks, the 75 design is great. This one really jumped out of the last like 24, 36 hours of pickups we saw. I like this one a lot.
So can I share my screen? I'm going to show one more.
Yeah,
I didn't really see this the first pass through by looking through it again. This is a cool Freddie Freeman card.
Yeah.
Gilded.
I don't really like Gilded for the crap I give it occasionally. That's a really good looking card in a lot of ways.
First year Gilded.
First year Gilded. Yep, that's it.
Last year's Gilded was bad, in my opinion. The design was bad, but hopefully this year it's better. But this is a sick card. The border's nice. Is this the World Series photo?
Someone told me what I think this is either the last out of the World Series or it's the last out against the Brewers. I'm not 100% sure which one it is. Let's just say it's the World Series because he looks really, really happy.
Yeah.
So anywho, and that one is Dave.
Yeah, the Heritage Red Ink. It's for all of the changes, for all of the changes and additions that we're getting.
It is the World Series, yeah.
From one year to the next. Heritage Red Ink seems like almost unaffected by all the BS that we're getting thrown our way. And I just hope they don't mess it up. You know, they've changed Heritage quite a bit, but it hasn't really affected the allure of the Red Ink auto. I hope they don't screw it up. I hope they don't take away a good thing.
Hey, wait for the Heritage Green Ink.
Yeah, that was our nightmare scenario that we talked about on one of our Blabbing episodes. Is that they start doing ink colors that match
Team color match
for the parallel rainbow, like the chrome rainbow. So we get like a gold ink out of 50, a black ink out of 10, and someone mentioned that in the comments, and Jeff and I just almost started crying on the spot. I'm like, please.
What about those pens when we were kids that you could click down multiple ink colors and like trace?
Yeah.
So you could do like the team color logo match auto with like the orange and blue for the Tigers.
Don't give them any ideas.
Do
I remember those pens.
Let's ruin it. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. We appreciate it. Thanks for being a part of the community. Regardless if you're a Patreon member, we appreciate you being here on YouTube and watching until how far are we into? Like 40 minutes. So if you're enjoying it, thank you. Thank you very much. But we'll see you in the next episode, guys.